They say as a YouTuber, if you want to maintain a very broad audience, if you want to be a fence setter, you absolutely want to avoid certain topics like politics and religion. And Lord knows I've talked about politics a lot on this channel, so let's get into religion. I swear, sometimes when I sit down to film, I wonder if I'm trying to hit 4 million for the second time. The first time on the way up and the second time on the way down. But like the title of the video says, I spoke with God back in 2019. And I know that's not going to go over well because I told the story on live stream and people hated it. So for some reason, I'm telling it again here on YouTube. But before I tell you that, let me remind you, my merch store now has this Did You Drink My Mountain Dew? Let Me Smell Your Breath shirt in. I know it's like 10 years too late, but I still love it. I still like it. I think you would love to have it too. Link in the description box below. Going all the way up to size 5X, so fellow fatties, I got you covered. Now, I'll probably put chapters in this video so you can skip ahead if you just want to hear about the conversation I had with God, but I think it's important to delve into my history with religion if I'm going to get into this at all. My name is Stephen Jason Williams. Yes, that does mean my initials are SJW, but that's another video for another time. But my middle name, Jason, is because I'm named after my dad's papa, who was a holy roller preacher, snake handler, fire walker, talking in tongues. You know those types of preachers. That was my papaw, was my dad's papaw. Which led me to think that the reason I was able to speak fairly decently is because I was meant to be a preacher like my dad's papaw. Unfortunately, I read the book of Job at a very bad time in my life when I was exploring all of that misery in my family, and I lost my faith entirely, unfortunately. And to be honest with you, when I started this YouTube channel, I was angry at people who had faith. I was jealous of it. I wished that I could believe. I wanted to believe. I desperately tried to believe. And no matter what, I couldn't believe. I even tried to fake it for a while, you know, the whole Pascal's wager thing. It's better to live a pious life and end up in hell than it is to not try at all, right? Like, it didn't work for me. And I tried really hard to get back into the swing of things. Like, I would go to church every once in a while. I would listen to Christian talk radio and watch Christian ministries, and I would study the Bible. And the more I did this, the further away I got. Like, when I would go to church, because I didn't have nice clothes, because I was 600 pounds, a lot of people there would judge me as a glutton and like, why are you here? And why aren't you dressed nice? And unfortunately, that's a lot of Southern Baptist churches, which was the way I was raised, was Baptist. A lot of churches aren't like that, but some are. My dad's papa, Jason, had a really specific lesson that he liked to tell everybody, which was, you don't need to go to church to know God. You don't need to read a book to know God. God is inside you. You are inside God. We are all just one big thing with God. And if you want to get to know God, just look around you, look inside you. God is there. If you want to get to know God, talk to God. He will listen. And so I tried doing that over and over again, and I never got a reply. But, you know, sometimes it did make me feel a hell of a lot better. But that comfort in religion that I even had as an atheist is one of the reasons I never wanted to take away other people's faith, right? Like, if you find comfort in whatever religion you practice, Christianity, Judaism, being a Muslim, being a Buddhist, I don't know, anything up to Scientology. Scientology is where I crossed the line. But if it brings you some amount of comfort, I'm all for it. This world is a miserable, steaming shithole. If you can feel slightly better every Sunday, go for it. All of this was during the time where Reddit was pushing the atheism subreddit to the front page every day, and you had all of these enlightened, angry, militant atheists who hated Christians and hated people who believed. And man, I could never participate in that culture. In fact, I would read it mostly to make fun of it the way we do now. But originally, I was an atheist that prayed, but slowly as I got older, as I observed more of the world, the more I began to truly believe that all of this is created, that there is a plan behind it. So I went from atheist to theist. I believe there's a God. I believe that I'm not intelligent enough to know that God in any capacity, possibly even perceive that God. And I believe that no man-made religions really are correct. At least they're not correct for me. If they're correct for you, that's great. I'm happy for you. Worship the way you want to worship. The way that I chose to worship is the way that Papa suggested, which is having an intense personal relationship with that creator and with that God and seek guidance through that. Which I guess if you're feeling judgmental, wasn't very great guidance because I am a big fat, fatty fat, glutton, womanizing, fatty fat fatter. So, you know, my God is pretty lenient. But I do think that since I was raised with mostly Christian morals, Specifically, the don't judge others, treat others as they would want to be treated, love thy neighbor, leave the judging between God and that person. You don't have to be involved, right? All of that stuff. I think it's led me to be not a pious person, but not a shitty one either. But if you follow my story, 2019 was where everything kind of came to a head for me. It was when YouTube had finally finished chewing me up and started spitting me out. Reddit and a lot of people were just really angry at me, sometimes for justified reasons, sometimes for unjustified reasons. I had been dealing with intrusive thoughts about deleting myself for a couple of years, and I was just, I'd made the decision to stick it out. I'd made the decision to stay, but I still was not in a good place or anything close to it. And that's when I wrecked my car in 2019. And I guess while I have you here, I want to be entirely honest with you about that car wreck. I was distracted driving. Like, I got a ticket for that. It's still affecting my insurance now. I wasn't looking directly at my phone or doing anything like that, but I certainly wasn't paying that much attention. And my car didn't have a lot of safety features to warn me when I was getting close to a car in front of me, and I almost slammed directly into the back end of the car in front of me. But fortunately, I grabbed my wheel, I jerked it to the side, I managed to put myself into a ditch, and I clipped the car in front of me instead of plowing right into them. And as I said then, I want to say again now, when you're driving a rocket at 70 miles an hour around other people who you might damage, hurt, or kill, pay attention to the road. Not your phone, not the radio, not that cool little screen that's built into dashboards these days. You need to pay attention to the road. Nothing else, okay? You could end up hurting somebody else. That to me is more important than hurting myself, but maybe you need to know you could also end up hurting yourself. You don't want to do that. But I got away with it with an airbag burn on my hand and some new damage to my already damaged back, mostly muscular. I ended up going to the emergency room. At the emergency room, they told me that in 24 hours, wherever I was, that's where I needed to stay. Don't try to travel. You're not going to be able to walk. You're not going to be able to move. You're just going to be really sore. And I took that as a bit of a challenge, if I'm honest with you. First thing I did was look for an Uber or a Lyft, and they just did not exist in this particular part of Tennessee. So I went to the Yellow Pages and I started looking for taxis, and I ended up finding a taxi that was about to clock out, but they decided to come get me anyway. And when I got into the car, I had a wonderfully weird experience. The woman driving the cab told me to get into the front seat and put my luggage in the back seat because her trunk was full, which was weird, but I did it anyway. And the very first thing she did as we were driving down the road, she asked if she could hold my hand and pray for me, which is, it kind of makes sense in retrospect. I had just walked out of the emergency room. I did have my hand bandaged up, so I guess it kind of made sense that she knew I'd been through some shit, but still it weirded me out. Her prayer, though, was oddly specific. She said, "God, can you show yourself to this man again? I know you've shown yourself to him many, many times, but you're going to have to do it many, many more. You have to prove yourself to him. God, I'm asking you to prove your existence to this man so that he can learn to truly believe again." Little on the nose there, God, with the burning bush and the whole cross thing. God has never been known for a subtlety. So I guess it makes sense. But then she told me a bunch of personal stories about how God had appeared to her in the form of a state trooper that pulled her over and told her that she'd had breast cancer, and that how God had sent a man to her church to lay hands on her to cure her breast cancer and baffle her doctors. And, I don't know about any of that stuff. That's some very Pentecostal, Southern Baptist, deep level stuff that I don't necessarily understand or believe in, but, more power to her. I sure hope that breast cancer didn't come back for her, though. But when I got checked into my hotel and I got to my room, I was in a lot of pain, and I called my friend Grant, GKX Express. You'll see him as one of my mods on many of my social media. He and I started talking, and he recommended that I talk to God. So you know what? I hung up the phone, and I decided I would do exactly that. I would verbally open my mouth and speak with God just to see what happens. And surprisingly, the dude answered. To this empty hotel room, I said, "Okay, God, let's talk." And I heard a voice. It was in my head, not inside the room, and it was my inside voice, the one that I always think in, but it was clearly not my voice controlling it. That was Clearly not me. I'm pretty certain it was God. I said, God, I know you want me to believe, but you know I don't, right? And he said, yes. And I said, so are you willing to show me? Are you willing to like give me any sign, proof? Just emptiness, no answer. I said, okay, how about this? If I can make it to my sister's house tomorrow and go visit her the way I had planned, because she's expecting me, and I'm able to get into a hotel there in Bristol, and that's where I end up staying. If you can help me do that when they told me I wouldn't be able to, I'll believe. Can you do that for me? No answer. But sure enough, the next day I get up, I'm able to load my car, I'm able to drive the rest of the way to Bristol. I get up into my sister's apartment, I sat with her for a few hours, and I literally need her help to get back down the stairs. But I get to my hotel, and I'm like, wow, let's talk again, God. So I said, God, you know I still don't believe, right? This could have been coincidence, but you know I want to. And the answer was again, yes. And I said, how about this? Tomorrow, get me to Gatlinburg where I'm supposed to be. Get me checked in a hotel room. Let me recover there. I'll take these muscle relaxers they gave me when I get to the hotel. And if I can do that, I can believe. Well, not only did I get to Gatlinburg, I ended up doing 2 museums that night with my friend Jacob the carpetbagger. When they were telling me I wouldn't be able to walk, when I wouldn't be able to move, I was able to get up and walk and move. And it hurt. It was really hard. God didn't make it easy, but I was able to do it. And I'm telling you, I genuinely believe my doctors 90% of the time. If they told me I wasn't going to be able to move, then that's a sort of miracle. I got into my hotel, I laid down, and I hurt so bad that I had difficulty for the next 24 hours getting up to go to the toilet. I was in absolute miserable pain. The muscle relaxers took off the edge, but they didn't make a huge difference. But I sat down on the edge of the bed and I started to pray and I said, all right, God, you got me. I believe. Now what? I decided to ask God some questions. And the first thing I asked was, what is all of this? And I didn't get a verbal answer, but I did get a sort of vision, an understanding. And the understanding I got, and this is so difficult to explain, but to this, it's a simulation to God. Or maybe like a game of The Sims. Don't think like what Elon Musk is describing, like we exist inside a computer. It's not that. But whatever God would consider to be like a computer or a game or whatever, he created this. He's running it, and he's doing it for his amusement. He likes to do this. This is his toy, his thing. It's fun for him. And that's not a bad answer, honestly. So I said, what's the point of this for me? Why am I here? What am I supposed to do? And I got 2 words back. And the words were, to suffer. And with that came an understanding that I still struggle with to this day. But you know, certain people have really easy lives. They're not that bad. They're born into privilege. They're born into money. They're born into happy families. Those people have boring lives because they're not being challenged. But those of us who are challenged at younger ages, and we rise to the challenge, we will continue to be challenged over and over and over again because that's the point. It makes us stronger, it makes us better, it makes us more awesome, and we are the lucky ones. Those of us who suffer, those of us who struggle, we are the lucky ones because we are strengthening our souls, we're strengthening our spirits, we are becoming tools of God, weapons of God. And that's another story for another time that I don't know that I've told on YouTube, but I'd like to. But that was the answer I got. And at the time I was real mad. I mean, like Book of Job mad. So I said, God, why make us stronger? And he said, for after. I said, for after what? What happens after? No answer. Apparently that's not something I'm supposed to know. So I asked God a question that I've always wanted to know the answer to. What am I supposed to be doing here? Like, what was my point? Why did you make me? What am I supposed to accomplish? And he said, Steve, you already did it. Just relax. Just enjoy the rest of it. I don't know what I was supposed to do. Hopefully it was important. Hopefully he liked it. Hopefully I didn't screw it up. But I've been trying to relax and enjoy it ever since, you know. I said, God, certainly there's more I can do, right? Like, what more can I do? And he said, lose the weight. And I said, well, that doesn't seem like that matters too much. And he says, you'll help a lot of people if you do. And that's one of the reasons I've been getting back into the gym. As much as I don't like being in pain, I do hope I can lose the weight. I hope it'll make him happy. I hope it'll make you guys happy, and maybe it'll make me less miserable, and that's plenty for me. And that's it. That's the one and only time I've been able to talk to God. I have tried over and over again. I don't know if it's the near-death experience, the point in my life. I don't know if I imagined it all. I don't know if that was the devil trying to trick me or whatever. But I will say it brought me in a tremendous amount of comfort. And I'm hoping that sharing this story with you can help you experience that same comfort. And regardless of what religion you are, that philosophy is a really good one, and it's the cornerstone of the Buddhist religion. That just relax and enjoy it. It's all kind of silly and pointless. Don't worry about it. There's another life after this. You can go on to the next one and enjoy it when you get there. And I think that's a good way to live. There are Christian Buddhists. There are Muslim Buddhists. You can absorb that Buddhist philosophy and put it into your life, and still be whatever religion you are. And I think Buddhism might be closer to accurate than any of the rest of them, because I don't know, I've really been enjoying life since. Then of course 2020 happened, and we all know how that turned out. But I withdrew from YouTube, I withdrew from streaming, I started focusing on my mental health, and I prayed all the time. I did deep, intense therapy, doing 1 or 2 sessions a week, and I got better. And I think that is the turning point for me. I think that conversation with God, whether it was real or not, was the answers I needed. And it set me on a much better path. I wish it could have happened sooner. But hey, got to be excited for those challenges, because that's the point, right? Let it get hard for a little while so that I can beat that challenge, right? If life was a video game, you got to win. You got to beat the game. And I hope you do. I mean, let's be honest. If life right now was a video game, it would very much be a Dark Souls game. But the challenge is the point, and the challenge is the fun. So enjoy the challenge, because it's awesome. It surprisingly is. Enjoy the pain, because it's the point. It really is. I mean, at the end of this video, I'm probably talking to like 3 people. But if you are one of the people that made it all the way to the end of this video, really take that lesson home, right? We all know one of the hardest parts of love is the pain. But it's so wonderful to have that love and be able to experience that pain. That's the risk of love. And I would never turn away love. I would always run blindly at it in the hopes that I can enjoy the happiness and take the pain that comes with it. And that is life. Love life. Love God. Love the Creator. Love being here. And if you do, I promise you it gets a lot better. It certainly didn't help me when I was angry and bitter about it, and I think we all know that. Now, if you have made it all the way to the end of this video, I appreciate you. That's a miracle in and of itself. If you decide you want to support me by dropping a like on this video, telling me your stories about religion down in the comments section, maybe checking out that merch shop, maybe becoming a channel member, however you decide to support me, I would love it if you did. But more importantly, support yourself, support your neighbors, support the people you love, and let them love you and support you. And maybe, just maybe, if it's right for you, I would never push my religion on anybody else, but if it's right for you, talk to God. Let's see what happens. Guys, as always, thanks for watching. I love you very much, and I will speak with you again soon.